Chapter 2. Secrets. Star plunked into the shallow end with a loud splash, startling a flock of geese. He trotted out of the lake, shook himself, and collapsed, exhausted, in the coarse sand. He lay for a while, swatting flies with his tail and thinking about what had just happened. The 100-year star blazed next to the sun, visible even during the brightest day. It followed him, seeming to stalk him from space, and it grew larger each day. In 7 cycles of the moon, it would be winter and Star's birthday. At midnight, the star would drop low into the sky, transfer its fire to him, and transform him. Maybe into a killer. If he lived that long. "There you are," a voice rang out, its familiar tone lifting his spirits. It was his best friend, Morning Leaf. He looked up to see the chestnut filly soar down out of the fir trees, followed by the twin foals, Bumblewind and Echo Frost. They landed next to him, chattering and cheerful. Morning Leaf greeted him, blowing softly into his nose. His friends obviously had no idea he'd just been transported into the heart of Mountain Herd and back. Already it felt like a dream. "We've been looking for you," said Morning Leaf. "Did you see Brackentail and Stripestorm?" Star asked them. "I saw them," said Bumblewind. "They came running out of the woods like they were being chased by wolves." "Did they say anything?" Bumblewind looked at his twin sister. She shrugged her wings. "Not to us. They joined up with the other foals to play." "Are you okay?" Morning Leaf asked, nodding at the cut on Star's shoulder. She rushed to examine it. "Did Brackentail do this to you?" She looked around for the brown colt, her ears pinned. Star soothed her. "I'm fine. It's just a scratch." But he couldn't believe Brackentail and Stripestorm hadn't gone for help. Members of his own herd had left him to die. Already he knew that Rockwing's words were true. Heaviness and emptiness rolled through him at the same time. Morning Leaf looked back towards Storm Meadow, Sunhair's main grazing land, and scowled. "He's a featherhead." "But, Star, why are you out here alone? It's not safe." Star twitched his ears. "I was practicing." He wouldn't tell anyone, including his friends, about Rockwing's offer. His friends would worry, and Sunherd was already suspicious of him. They didn't need another reason to fear him. Star glanced at Morning Leaf, feeling unhappy that he couldn't tell her what had just happened. Her dam, Silvercloud, adopted Star after his mother died. Ever since, he and the chestnut filly shared everything. Morning Leaf's eyes swept his oversized black wings, dusty from dragging on the ground, his torn feathers hanging off the edges like moss. "Any luck with the flying?" she asked. Star shook his curly black mane. "No. I can't even lift my wings off my back, let alone flap them." "Did those colts see you trying to fly?" Morning Leaf asked. "Is that how the fight started?" Star swished his tail as if he could erase the day. "No. They talked about my mother." Morning Leaf narrowed her eyes. "Don't listen to them. Your mother is a legend." "I know," Star whispered, nodding his head. Each century, when the 100-year star appeared, a black foal was born to one mare in Anok, and this century, that mare had been his dam, Lightfeather. Morning Leaf took a deep, proud breath. No pregnant mare could have migrated alone with no help from the herd like she did. She's incredible. Star knew all about that, but it didn't make him feel any better, because his mother had died and was gone forever. Bumblewind trotted to Star and wrapped his wing around his neck. "Anyway, if you keep practicing, you'll fly one day, Star. I know it. Nightwing was born a dub too." Morning Leaf smacked him. "Don't talk about Nightwing." Star exhaled. Nightwing was a black foal that lived 400 years ago. The prophecy of the black foal decreed that the 100-year star would transfer its supernatural fire to the colt at midnight on his first birthday. The star would then disappear for another 100 years, and the black foal would become the most powerful Pegasus in Anok. But black foals were no regular Pegasi to begin with. The most obvious difference being their color. Black coats existed for land horses but not for Pegasi, and their long legs and oversized wings, malformations that caused life-threatening early births, also made them different from the others in the herd. The 4 who survived were duds, and most starved to death, but Nightwing had been an exception. His mother had survived. Since a mare from a different herd was chosen each century to bear the black foal, the herd that received the special colt in Anok was known as the Guardian herd. It was the over-stallion's right either to protect or destroy the rare colt, who some Pegasus viewed as dangerous and others viewed as extraordinary. This century's Guardian herd was Sunherd, and the over-stallion Thunderwing viewed Star as dangerous. Thunderwing didn't believe any one Pegasus should wield so much power and vowed to end Star's life on his birthday. He sent messages to all the herds informing them about his decision. Star shuddered just thinking about his upcoming execution. The fire of the 100-year star terrified the steeds of Anok because it could be used to unite them or destroy them. And no Pegasus, not even Star, was sure if he'd have any choice in how the power affected him. All the old stories pictured Nightwing as a polite and friendly foal right up until his first birthday, and then he'd turned on the herds, attacking them, setting their grasslands on fire, and driving them to the edge of extinction. Star's guardian herd feared he would do the same, so the fact that Nightwing had also been born a dud didn't comfort Star. But Lightfeather had believed Star was good, and because of Lightfeather's belief, Silvercloud, the lead mare of Sunherd, promised the dying mare she would protect Star as long as she could. The sounds of his friends nickering behind Star reminded him where he was, and that he was soaking wet. He shook himself hard, dousing them in water, and his friends scrambled away, whinnying in delight. "Well, since we're all here, who wants to play water tag?" asked Echo Frost. "You're it," whinnied Morningleaf, tagging Star. His friends galloped into the water. Star didn't feel like playing, but he didn't want to return to the herd either, so he chased his 3 friends into the lake. He dived under and let the cool water soothe his throbbing wings and raise them off his back. He glided in a lazy circle around Bumblewind, who was not a fast swimmer. Morningleaf paddled above them, her wings extended and her neck flat, the sunlight filtering through her aqua feathers, casting stripes of color across the water. Star floated over the tops of the lake plants. Fat fish and tiny minnows darted out of his path. Down here, he could pretend he was a regular flying foal like his friends, a full member of Sunherd with a proper herd name. He was Starlight, the colt, not Star, the black foal of Anok, and he could fly until he ran out of breath. The 4 of them played until Star's heavy wings began to cramp again. "I'm done," he said. He crawled out of the flat blue water and then rolled onto his back. The rough sand was hot and it soothed his muscles. His friends shook themselves dry and picked at the plants along the shoreline, their ears swiveling with each croak of a frog. They were just days away from their weaning, but they still preferred warm, sweet milk to bitter grass. "I'm hot," said Bumblewind. It was early summer and the low sun burned their pelts. Echo Frost was preening her feathers. "Let's go, Ben." "Come on." Morningleaf chose a narrow winding path to return to the lower plains where Sunherd grazed. She broke into a slow trot. "You 3 can fly," Star said. "I don't mind." Morningleaf snorted and kept trotting. "Of course not. We'll walk with you." The friend rounded a bend and skidded into the dangling hooves of Brackentail, Stripestorm, and a red-roan filly named Flamesky, who were flying several feet above the path. "Look, guys," said Flamesky. "It's a band of horses." The group landed on the dirt path, blocking Star and his friends. Star locked eyes with Brackentail. The brown colt appeared stunned to see him still alive. Star wondered if Brackentail was returned for the lake, hoping to find that the 4 mountain herd stallions had killed him. Morningleaf pinned her ears. "Let us pass." Brackentail huffed and spread his wings. "Why don't you fly over us?" He looked pointedly at Star. Morning Leaf whirled around and kicked Brackentail in the chest, knocking him out of the sky. The colt slammed into the ground, wheezing and coughing. Flamesky lunged at Morning Leaf, but pulled herself back just as fast. Morning Leaf was the daughter of Sunherd's overstallion, Thunderwing. Brackentail's friends looked at each other, unsure how to proceed. Morning Leaf took advantage of their uncertainty and pushed past them. "Just ignore them," she said to Star, Echo Frost, and Bumblewind. They followed her past the falls. Brackentail regained his breath and flapped into the sky. "You'd better watch yourself, Morning Leaf," he threatened from the safety of the heights. "Hanging around the black foal is making you sour." Brackentail's entire body quivered as he said the words, and then he and his friend flew away before Morning Leaf could respond to them. "Don't listen to that nonsense," said Bumblewind. "I'm not," said Morning Leaf, her feathers rattling with fury. But Star heard it. Wondered why Brackentail cared so much about Morning Leaf. The big colt was never anything but mean to her. The four friends finished their journey home in silence. Eventually, the sloping path led them out of the trees and revealed the lower plain. 4,000 sun-haired Pegasi grazed in the green valley, their glossy feathers shimmering as they fanned themselves. Compact foals darted between tufts of grass like hummingbirds, their agile wings short and bright. Captains drilled their platoons in the foothills to the west, and fragrant summer flowers dotted the grassland. Star paused, surveying the impressive sight of his herd. "Let's look for a moment." Bumblewind gave a hearty sigh and pawed the ground. "I'm hungry." "Just a moment," Star promised. He enjoyed watching sunsets, pretty birds, rainbows, cloud formations, whatever caught his eye, but his friends had little patience for those things. He looked to the left towards the edge of the forest, where his mother's grave was, a mound of rocks piled inside a circle of tall redwood trees. He'd only spent a few hours with Lightfeather before she died. He could still remember how the glow from the 100-year star had made her white body look gold. While Sunherd had argued to destroy him immediately, she'd ignored their threats and whispered secrets into Star's ears until he fell asleep. Then she died, with him curled between her front legs. He'd been too young to understand the words she'd spoken, but he knew they resided in him all the same, engraved deep in his memory. Lightfeather was a legend to some sun-haired Pegasi, and an unlucky orphan to others. She had been born to Snowherd in the far north, the illegitimate foal of Icewing, but the lead mare there had driven Lightfeather and her mother out when she was just a filly. A sun-high patrol had found Lightfeather hiding in a tree a few days later. A bear had killed and eaten her mother, so she was alone. They brought her to Sunhead's territory, where Silvercloud took pity on her and adopted her. When the filly grew up and became pregnant with the black foal, many Pegasi and Sunhead wished Silvercloud had let Lightfeather die in the woods. Lightfeather became an outsider, just like her colt was now. "I'm really hungry," Bumblewind said again, groaning. The words pulled Star from his reprieve. "All right, let's go." They continued their descent and separated when they reached the long grass in the fields. "There's Mother," said Echo Frost. She and her brother kicked off and flew to Crystal Feather to nurse. The chestnut mare welcomed her foals with an anxious whinny. Star and Morning Leaf trotted to Silvercloud's side. She nuzzled them and then noticed Star's wound. "Star, what happened to your shoulder?" "He fell," said Morning Leaf, covering the truth. Star was grateful for her quick response because Morning Leaf knew he didn't like Silvercloud to worry about him. But Silvercloud was lead mare of Sunhead and responsible for the safety of all the foals. She was not so easily fooled. "Fell, huh?" she asked, pricking her ears. "I was trying to fly," said Star. The grey mare nodded. "Would you like Sweetfruit to take a look at it? She may have some medicine to heal it." "No, it's fine." Sweetfruit was Sunhead's medicine mare, and Star saw her often enough as it was. Each morning she rubbed a mixture of marigold and comfrey across the torn ends of his wings. Silvercloud nodded and returned to grazing. She nickered with contentment as Star nursed from the ground and Morning Leaf nursed from the air. Her rapid wing beats a blur of aqua as she shoved her nose into Silver Cloud's side. When they drunk their full, the two falls collapsed a blanket of dandelions. As Star closed his eyes, dark thoughts entered his mind, and within minutes of falling asleep, a nightmare gripped him. He was a newborn foal visiting the fresh grave of his mother when a black shadow suddenly blotted out the sun. Star raised his head and saw Thunderwing, flying to Lightfeather's graves with his captains in tow. Silver Cloud, who was standing next to Star, inched closer as the stallions landed and folded their wings. Star noticed that even the daylight was tinged by the golden fire of the 100-year star, and it was under this light that Star met the crimson-feathered overstallion for the first time. Thunderwing stared into Star's eyes, and Silver Cloud flared her wings protectively. "He'll never fly," Thunderwing said, directing his comment to Silver Cloud. The mare said nothing. Thunderwing spread his wings to their full length and reared, towering over Star, who was only hours old. He lunged forward, slamming the ground with his front hooves, and the force of the blow rattled Star's teeth. "If you survive," he said, leaning towards Star, eye to eye with him, "you will not live past a year, for I will execute you on your first birthday. I will not let you threaten the 5 herds of Anok." Thunderwing lashed his tail and addressed the fresh grave. "Fly straight and find your rest, Lightfeather." He turned and flew away into the bright gold light of the 100-year star, his blood-red feathers floating in his wake.